spend years building a career. We follow a path that seems right, the one that looks impressive, the one everyone tells you matters. And then one day you stop and ask yourself, is this actually my life or is this the life that was assigned to me? Welcome to Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. I am Sreemedha, and today we are talking about one of the most important questions you will ever ask yourself. What happens when you choose your own path instead of following the one that was handed out to you? Joe Wearmouth spent his career as a federal attorney and he stood up in court on behalf of the US government. And listener, he's working for the Department of Homeland Security and the Justice Department. And 5 years ago, he walked away from all of it to research and write about the American Revolution. Joe, it's so wonderful to have you here.
Yeah, it's so nice to meet you. Thank you for having me.
And Joe, with all that introduction, so anytime one is going to hear this, that you left such a prestigious federal career to become a writer and researcher, they are bound to have strong reactions. So, what made you have this sort of a shift in your career?
Sure, I think you kinda hit it right on the nose with your introduction, actually. I don't know if I need to add anything. So when I was growing up, I went to college and I studied history in college, and at some point, somebody said, "Hey, what are you gonna do with a history degree? You should go to law school." And so at some point, I decided to go to law school and spent almost 20 years as a lawyer. But during the COVID pandemic, I started asking myself, "What in the world are you doing?" I was miserable. I was spending hours and hours away from my family for a job that I just didn't not only did I not enjoy, but I was miserable doing. It was a job where I was paid to argue on an hourly basis, and I hate arguing, I hate confrontation, and so, like, this match was just it just did not fit my personality, it did not fit my life, and so I started questioning, like, why I was doing it, and I realized that I was doing it because that's what everyone expected me to do from such a young age, and that kinda just kept building on top of what I was already doing. Because I was doing it, people expected me to keep doing it, and I was kind of getting, like, the little dopamine hits, right? Like, when I would get to say I'm a lawyer or I'm a federal prosecutor, you could kinda see it in people's eyes like, "Oh, that's a really cool, impressive job," and so I kept doing it for the recognition I was getting from other people, despite the fact on a day by day and an hour by hour basis, I was miserable doing it.
And Joe, so since you were working in the attorney role, what was the definition of success that you had then, and has it differed a little right now?
Yeah, I think the definition of success I had then was based on external validation. So obviously, there was the financial side of things. What lawyers get paid fairly well, so I can live a comfortable life financially. But there was also the prestige part of it, right? Being a federal prosecutor, at least at the time I was a federal prosecutor and a federal attorney, was a prestigious job to have. And so I was using that external validation to kinda get me through my days, both the financial and the validation from other people. So, my family could say that their son was this federal attorney. My kids could tell their friends that their dad was an attorney. And that's kinda what I was using to justify what I was doing on a day-to-day basis.
But when did you realize that there were certain patterns, or maybe there were signals that you told you that this federal career was actually not your path, even when it looks so perfect from the outside, and people were happy to call uh, themselves being associated with an attorney?
Yeah, so I would say from the first day that I was ever an attorney, I had those feelings, honestly. So I loved law school. I loved researching, writing, learning the law, but I never liked the job of being an attorney. So from the first day that I stepped in, my first job out of law school was at a big law firm. And for my first day stepping into that firm, I knew this was not for me. But I held on to that role for close to 2 decades for that external validation. Bless you.
Thank you. I'm sorry. And so, Joe, if someone who's listening and feels that same sort of attention, how would you say it looks like in their everyday life? Maybe the one that they are living a life which was assigned to them, but not the one they chose for themselves. How do they distinguish?
Yeah, I think you have to listen to your gut. That's what I did is I knew for a long time that this was not the right path for me. I knew deep down that there was something else that I was meant to be doing. Now I fought against that. I think a lot of us fight against that, right? I think a lot of us feel um when we're not on the right path. Maybe it doesn't even have to be a career, right? It can be anything. We can feel we're not on the right path with our health, with our relationships, with our financial spending, with our hobbies. I think a lot of us know deep down that it's not the right path. And we fight back because our culture is teaching us to do these certain things that we're taught from very little that this is what adults do. This is what humans do in your culture. And so we fight against that feeling knowing that it's not right. So I think everybody has that inherent feeling in their stomach that they're not on the right path, and it's just whether you're gonna do anything about it or if you're gonna stay on the wrong path.
The action part is the most difficult part. So, how did that show up for you during maybe last couple of years before you made the decision to quit this career?
Yeah, I think you have to take baby steps, right? Like, kinda jumping off the ledge, I'm not sure is the right move either. Jump Just kinda jumping out of a career that I spent, you know, 3 years training for after college, and then decades building after that, it wasn't the right move for me to just step off the ledge and say, "I'm done with this." So I took baby steps. I About when COVID started, a lot of things obviously shifted for me. Like my docket, I was a federal prosecutor at the time, and my docket disappeared overnight. I wasn't going to court anymore. I was kind of doing things that I had never really done as an attorney, but it also gave me some free time to try to step back a little bit while I still had that role. I still had that external validation, right? Like I didn't, and I still had the paycheck, which was nice, but it gave me a little bit of breathing room to kind of like reevaluate my life and be like, what do I really want to do? At this point, like I knew I had been obsessed with history and the American Revolution specifically for decades, and so I enrolled in some classes to kinda get my feet back into it. So that was, like, the first action step I took without jumping off the ledge, and throwing away what I thought was a valuable career. It was just kinda getting my feet wet, and so that was the first action I took, and, those kinda gradually snowballed into where we are today.
Absolutely. And so, as you say that we need to take those small baby steps, if someone is really stuck in the stage of questioning, how do they begin taking those small steps and maybe one approach or one method that you would recommend?
Sure, I think it's really evaluating with yourself and being honest with yourself, what you want to spend your life doing? And I think the baby step to doing that, like, that's a big question, right? It's like trying to figure out what you wanna spend your life doing. So I think the baby step to that is figuring out what you wanna spend your day doing. Do you wanna spend your d like, for me, I knew I didn't wanna spend my day arguing with other attorneys hour after hour after hour because it just did not fit my personality. I knew that I wanted to spend my days reading historic documents, reading historic books, studying these people and these events that just fascinated me. That's what I wanted to spend my day doing. And so then I had to figure out, well, how can I turn that into a job? So the first step is figuring out what you want to spend your day doing and then figuring out how you make money doing that. And because we all need money. We all we all need to eat. A lot of us have kids that we have to raise. So you need to figure out how to make your days profitable, but in an enjoyable way. So the first step is figuring out what you want to do on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely. And I think it's in those small decisions that the big change follows. And Joe, so it's been 5 years and you have lived this choice for quite some time now. So, what helps you to stay committed to this path that you chose for yourself, especially when it's not the so conventional one?
Sure, like, some days I have lots of doubts. I'm wondering, "What am I doing?" I gave up a great career to a very uncertain career about writing books in the age of AI. Like, you keep hearing all these doomsdays about how writers are gonna go extinct because AI can essentially write your books for you, which I completely disagree with. I'll throw that in there. I don't think AI can write a book like a human can write a book. But, there's still, like, those doomsdayers, and some days, you're on social media and you're thinking, "What am I doing?" And so that there actually have been times where I've, like, reverted back and kind of put my foot back into the law a little bit because I'm just like anybody else. I get scared like, "Oh, man, I need to go back. I need to do this." But every single time I do it, I think to myself, "How did I get back here?" I think to myself about the times I'm sitting here, right here at my desk, reading a book, coming up with some revelation about history or coming up with this scene in a book and how happy it made me, how fulfilled it made me. And so that's the motivation I get. So, slipping backwards a little bit motivates me to keep moving forward.
Absolutely. And Joe, so for the final thing, what would you say to someone who's probably afraid that they will regret leaving behind something so stable and recognize if they are taking a path that is of their own willingness and own choice, but leaving something very stable behind? So, what would you say to them?
That stable job's always going to be there. If you decide you want to do something, go chase it and chase it with all of your energy. You can always go back to what you're doing right now. Like for me, if I wanted to go back to a law firm of the federal government to practice law again, I could do it. I know I could do it. And I guarantee you that stable job that you have right now will still be there in some capacity after you try to do what you want to do. And if it doesn't work for whatever reason, I am convinced that if you put in enough work, you can do whatever you want to do. You will be successful if you put in the work. But if for some reason it doesn't work out, that stable job is gonna be there. So just do it. Take that step, take those baby steps, and eventually take the big leap.
Totally. And I think regret works both ways. So, we can regret leaving, but we can also regret never trying.
Absolutely, I think about that all the time. At the end of my life, do I want to have 20 books that I've written, or do I want to have, a big house or a fancy car? And I guarantee you that at the end of my life, I'm gonna be very proud of those 20 books, and I'll forget whatever car I was driving right now. I won't even think about it. So, chase those big dreams. I think that's what we're here for, is to chase those big dreams. And if everybody chases those big dreams, I think it can change our society for the better.
Totally. And that's a very important refrain. And I think, listeners, the life you want and the life that's assigned to you are not the same, not always the same. And we need to find sort of a distinction. Thank
I
you
think
so
that
much.
oh, yeah, I was gonna say, I think they're very rarely the same. The life that's assigned to you is very rarely the same as the life that you want. So I think everybody should take a step back and evaluate.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Joe, for bringing this sort of a clarity into this conversation today. And for anyone who's interested and wants to learn more about your work, where do you suggest they find you?
Sure. So the best place to find me is my website, which is just joewarmouth.com. I am also on TikTok and Instagram at Joe Writes History. And so those are the best places to find me.
Absolutely. I would definitely recommend our listeners to please go have a look. I'm sure it will be of much help to you all. Thank you so much, Joe, for having this conversation with us today.
Yeah, thank you. I've really enjoyed it.
And to all our listeners, please remember that the career you build, the life you shape, it doesn't have to look like anyone else's version of success. It should feel true to you and what you want for yourself. And that's not always an easy decision, but it's always worth exploring. Take care of your mind, and we will talk again soon in another episode of Healthy Mind, Healthy Life.